Are we on? I think we're on. All right, I'll wait, and yeah, we'll get into it. For those of you who are new to this or new to me, I'm Charlie Fitzpatrick. I work for Esri, and I get to work with schools all across the country doing GIS. What the heck is GIS? That's what we're going to be doing here. And to do it, it will help if you have access to a device other than a pen that I just dropped here. It'll help if you have access to a device or you are sitting near somebody who has a device, because what we're going to do today is to explore creating data and making a project out of that. So GIS, I've been talking about this already, Geographic Information Systems. It is a system, think about it as software that you can use to make maps and analyze data about places. People use these tools in order to understand information about places, whether it's at the local level, we want to figure out which lands we can use for a specific purpose, or at the global level, looking at political matters across the world, or climate change, or whatever it might be. You can look at things large and small, and the whole idea is the more you understand it, the more you can make good decisions. So what we're going to do today, the bottom dot there is your key. We're going to collect data. We, right here, are going to be collecting data. You can do data collection in a classroom, even. We're going to map it. Our data, live mapped. We're going to explore it, look at it, we're going to analyze it, and then we're going to present it. We're going to use Survey 123. Did the sound just change? Okay, you can still hear me? Okay, good. We're going to use an app called Survey 123. We're going to use a map viewer. We're going to use a dashboard and a StoryMap. These are all parts of what you see in an infrastructure that we make available to schools all over the world for free called ArcGIS Online. So we're going to be working with these, and GIS in general works with a series of elements, individual elements. So you think about the end product, that's an application. That's something that is available in sort of finished product condition, like you see somebody serving dinner. They're serving it on a serving tray. That's the finished product. It's in a serving dish. It's on a nicely dressed table, and there are people enjoying it. That's what the application is with GIS. That's the finished product. It's made of some of the contents. The map, that's the construction zone for assembling your content that you want to display in the finished product. And it allows you to gather data about locations, whether it's here inside a building, outside in the community, around the world. You design that. That map may have a series of different layers of data, and each layer is a set of like things. Think about the states of the US, and you can see that in your head as a layer on a map. Think about the streets in the community. That's a layer. Think about the people. Think about the vegetation. Each of these is layers in a map. You string them together, you assemble them like a sandwich, and you start using the power of the computer to ask questions across it. And there are individual features, like when I clicked on Conwell Egan, and you could see there's a set of information, like a name, when they got started, where they are. There's a set of information about each feature. About each feature in each layer, there's a set of information. And these information elements you can think of as features with characteristics about them, or attributes. So an example would be the app, the finished product, the app of the East Schools. All of the East Schools explorable on the map. All right. Like that. There's a nice app. And I can tell it's an app because it's got a legend that is sitting out on its own, sort of off in space. It's not attached to a big part of an open window. So it's an app that is there. And because I made it. All right, so what are we going to do? Step one, now that everybody's here, we're going to decide what to learn. All right, we're going to learn about you. And so that part is already done. When you're planning your project, you got to figure out, what is it that I'm going to be doing in my project? We're going to gather data here in this room. So we're going to be doing a project here in this room today. You're going to be thinking about the project that you're doing. We're going to gather data using Survey 123 and devices if you've got devices near you. And then we're going to map it. Then we're going to explore it in a dashboard, do some analysis, and then we're going to bring it all together in a story map. So we're going to see if we're going to have to run here. All right. Every project needs a plan, and every exploration, if you're just sitting down and exploring some things, you need to have a question that you're working with. So ours setup is in place. All right, here we go. You can do this either with a let me see if I can, whoops, back up here. Let me see if I can, this little website here, arcgis.is/ and then I've got a series of capital letters or numbers, or you can scan this QR code with your camera phone, and we might, I don't know, hopefully that is bright enough that you can see it. And we're going to open this in a phone. Anybody having success? And if you don't have a phone, work with somebody who is near you who might have a phone or a computer that is on the Wi-Fi. So if you've got somebody in your vicinity and you can borrow their phone, that works too. One person, and then just refresh it. All right, and the whole idea, I'm going to open it up in a second here. And it may be easiest if you're too far away just to type in. It may be easiest just to type in arcgis/0, capital D, capital P, capital S, capital G, 00. All right, that's going to get you to a survey. And now you're looking at the survey at the very far left. The whole survey is a long instrument that I've broken into 3 pieces so that you can see it. And those of you who aren't yet on a device, you can see it here. The first thing is, this is going to be about you. It's got 7 questions, but we don't want you to use your name or your initials or anything like that. We want you to put in something like your pet's name or your favorite food or a superhero or a place you want to visit or something like that. That's Q1. Q2, your role. Are you an East student, an East facilitator, an East staff, or an East friend? Everybody is one of those 4. Then your grade, 1 through 12 if you're a student, 13 if you're a college student, 14 for anybody else. Then what year is this for you in East? 1, 2, 3, 4, or more than 4? And then there's a funny little 5-row and 4-column thing. Your comfort with 5 different operating systems. Low, medium high, high. So pick one in each row for Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Chrome OS, that's for Chromebooks, and Android. Then pick your school. Oh my God, my school. There's 200, there's a whole boatload of them. And it's a pull-down list, and you can scroll, and it's alphabetically by state first. Is Arkansas, well, their other is at the very top. And then you can scroll alphabetically. And finally, mark your school, put it on a map. Click on the map to drop a pin, and if you're on your phone, you may have to move it around or zoom it. You can zoom. You can find it, you could type in your school's name or a zip code or something like that, and it'll go to those places. And then if you're all done, hit submit. And if there's somebody who needs the phone or the device near you, hit the refresh screen on your browser and run through it again for them. So I'll give you a second to do this. But you're generating data. The information that you have in your head is going to be sent electronically up into the cloud to join with everybody else's data to create something that didn't exist 10 minutes ago. You're creating data. You've got lots of information in your head. The community residents have lots of information that they can be submitting as data. And so you can be generating information and using that as a community project. Anybody still working on theirs? A couple still going? All right. Uh-huh. Yep. When you get to the bottom, go ahead and hit the submit button, because that's the way that your data gets submitted. Otherwise, it's just your data. Nobody else gets to see it. Once you submit it, it goes up into the cloud, and it joins with these other people's data. So you can keep going. You can keep working on it. And I'm going to move ahead, and we can come back to this if you need at the very end and submit it again. All right. Now, I'm a little ahead of myself here. Ooh, so excited here. All right. Where I'm going to go is to ArcGIS Online. I'm going to show you what we've just done. I'm going to go ahead and sign in, and poof, I've signed into my account. In the process of creating this, I said, I want to make a survey. Where does this survey live? This survey lives inside my account. I went in and created a form. How did I do that? Using Survey 123. Where do I find Survey 123? It is an item that is available from the app launcher inside of ArcGIS Online. This is an app that is built in if you have an ArcGIS Online organization account. I can't work my school. Okay, then just do the best you can with it and go ahead and hit submit. So, if you have an ArcGIS Online organization account, you've got to log into that organization. You've got access to a whole set of tools. One of these tools is this survey builder. I built a survey for you thinking about what I want to do at the very end. So this is where you have to know the ending that you want in your project in order to design the data that you're collecting. What am I going to want to do with this information? What is it going to look like? I've got to design that so that you can give me the information that I want to have people see. All right, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to click on Survey 123. It says, Charlie, you're already logged in. Here's my display. And as I click on this, wow, it says there are 60 items in here. And I only put in 8 little starter ones. And you'll be able to see that, because if I go in here and say, yep, show me this, it says, hey, the survey has changes. All right, but that's nothing dramatic. Here's the design part of it. If any of you have put together a Google form, this is very much like that same process. I design this, just drag and drop in the elements, but then there is this part where I get to add a map. And you can just drag and drop it in here and design the questions that you like in the order that you like, and it's going to present you the information. Then we say, I want to collaborate. I want to make this available. I said, yep, let everybody be able to access this. I can open it up and launch it here. I've made this available to everybody. And then I said, okay, go ahead and save that characteristic so that you could all open this up without being logged in. So I need to be thinking about that as I design the data gathering process. Now comes the fun part. Let's go in and analyze this information here. So, aha! We've got some names, some pets, some people, some things, and I don't have my glasses here. Some of these are kind of small. I see Mexico, I see Springs, I see Buddy, I see all kinds of fun things in here. And then look at, we've got all of these East students here. It looks like a whole bunch of students are in here. And then your grade. So here we are, and you can see the data that you've assembled in here. And there's some that I have to take out because I put a set of records in the very beginning. So I'll show you that you get to do that. So here, your participation in East, we've got a bunch of first year, second, third, fourth, and some more than 4. So you get to see already the information that people have submitted. And wow, all right, here we have some medium highs. That's the medium high, and here's the high. So lots of medium high and high. People are accustomed to technology. I love it. That's what we like to see. And then here you have the individual breakouts. Here's Mac OS, here's iOS, here's Chrome OS, here's Android, and then, several people from Name Your School. So there are a bunch of different schools that are represented in here. And so you get to explore this already. But for each of these, you could say, hey, I want to see them on a map. And we're going to get to that map in a second. If I look at the data, here are all these different data points. And so we've got some people who are in places that are sort of far and wide, and some that are nearby where your school is. Now, way down at the very bottom, I had some that were ones that I put in here as tests. So I can look at this and say, here's test number 1, East student. Hey, you know what? Test number 1, that isn't one of ours. I'm going to delete this record. Ba-boom. So you can set this up so that you can clean your data and get rid of some of the test data in here. Test number 2, that was one of mine. I'm going to get rid of that one, delete this record. So you control, as the owner of this survey, the quality of the data. Did you put some things in here as somebody who's trying to assemble this? So these things were pre-classified because I wanted to make a map and have you look at that. And so in order to be able to do that, I had to have some test data. So I'm going to get rid of number 4. Yep, I want to get rid of that. I'll leave the others in there. A few pieces of test data won't disrupt this too much. All right, so we've created a set of data. Now, let's go back and take a look at this. When I create that form, it gives me a form, it gives me a layer of features, and I want to protect that. So I use a look at that data, and that's what these other layers are. I'm going to be mapping one look at that data. I'm going to be using one along with this form. So this screen will make a little bit more sense to you if you look back at it afterwards. And that will be possible because this is going to be preserved so that you can see this. So when I'm all done, what we now want to do, we've got our data in place. We've gathered data. Now let's look at it in a map. So here's our data, and here's a map, but I really want to have more tools than Survey 123 gives me for looking at the data. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a map. And I've created a map. You ready to see your map? Let's see what it looks like. Here we are inside the map viewer looking at your data. Remember, there was one that was over here in Central Texas and somebody from Oklahoma, and little flags all over the place. These are pre-constructed because I was able to do that because I created some test data. This is data that you can look at and see information about, okay, here's somebody that is an East student and how they responded. And here is somebody else. Here's Egg. And here's Ranger. So you can see your individual records in here as part of the map. All right, how does this fit together in our project? You're going to have to, as you gather data, figure out how do I classify and symbolize these things. And you need to have that end product in mind as you do this. So when you're doing a project, don't necessarily do your big, ultimate, massive project as the very first thing you do. Don't do that. Instead, do a little project, a little practice project, and then do another little practice project that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more involved. Get some experience in how these tools work, and then say, okay, I'm ready to get more involved in my whole big project. Get accustomed to making a survey, mapping that survey, going in and saying, I want to classify these things and symbolize them. You get to control the layer name, the sequence of the layers, which ones they're in, at what scale they are visible. When you scale out to see the whole world, do you want to be able to see your data? Maybe, maybe not. It might make sense, it might not. So you get to control all of these things. And make your pop-ups, the things that appear when you click on these features, make it easy for the end user. See, the part of this that is magic is that you need to be thinking about that end user and their experience as they're going through your StoryMap, your application at the very end. That's where I think you guys have a leg up on students all across the country, because East says, well, you tell me, what does East say? Who's your project for? The community, somebody else. You're doing something for other people. Most students across the US are doing things for their development. You guys are doing things for your development, but you're doing them for the community. You've got a built-in advantage about thinking about, I need to be organizing how this looks for somebody else. Now you might decide, I want to add some other data. We might take a look at the counties, in this case, the counties of Arkansas, and say, are there some additional elements of data? Population, population growth rate in the county, the diversity across the state, median household income. We can gather some data like that and just add it to the counties. It's a simple little process to do, very powerful, to be able then to say, okay, here I am mapping the population growth rate. In other words, is the county growing or is the population declining? And we set it up with a particular color scheme about the more intense blue it is, the more it is growing. The more intense rust color it is, the more it is declining. in population. So there are some places across the state that are growing and some that are declining. And you might look at this and say, okay, where are the schools that we're a part of? Now, those pieces you can assemble into a dashboard. Where do you discover, where are you familiar with the phrase dashboard? Somebody said it? A car. What does the dashboard in your car tell you? Your speed. Anything else? Gas. Gas. Anything else? Temperature? Miles per gallon. If stuff is broken, RPMs, all kinds of things. So your dashboard, you can sometimes set it up to tell you certain things like your tire pressure and all kinds of things like that. You can design what your dashboard is telling you in some vehicles. Sometimes you just inherit it. Well, so here, what we can do is design, what is it that we're going to be taking a look at? We can see multiple pieces of information all at once about the same thing. How many surveys did you fill out? One. Anybody fill out more than one survey? Everybody filled out one today in this room. Filled out just one. How many questions were in there? 5, 7, 8, several. Good answer. So we can think about each of those questions as something that is an attribute, a characteristic of a person. So as I'm thinking about what do I want to know about the East community, I need to be thinking about what am I going to see at the end? How do I see that? I need to make sure that I design my questions so that you'll give me the data that I need in order to present to you the data that is of interest. So this is where you have to build some experience. It's like in baseball. You got to hit a baseball several times to really get the sense of, okay, what does it feel like when I hit a home run? Or when whatever your sport is, catch a fish or something like that. Whatever your activity is, shoot a good picture. You got to do it several times to get what it is like when you do it right. So here, we can configure this, and this takes time because I'm looking at this and I'm assembling, how do I arrange this piece? And I've got total number of survey participants years in East. And this was just with my practice data with the schools in East as a background layer. Here's my practice data. Survey participants years in East. Survey participants by grade. The survey participants by East role. The survey participants comfort with Windows, and then you'll see below here, here's a tab for Mac OS, and a tab for iOS, and a tab for Chrome, and a tab for Android. So we'll have it all laid out in the dashboard that you'll get to take a look at. Here are the total number of East schools, the East schools and the map by map extent. So this dashboard is going to be configured so that we can take a look at all kinds of things at once. And finally, you say, great, ooh, I'm a little behind here. So here I am in my, let's go back to my contents. Here I am in my contents, and I've assembled a dashboard. Where's my dashboard? There's my dashboard. I've assembled a dashboard in here, pre-created this so that when we look at it all together, I don't have to spend time building it, because that's one of these pieces that takes a while. It's like a good survey. It takes a while to build. It's not just, Mary had a little lamb, and away we go. You got to be thinking carefully about each of these elements. So this is an activity where brain needs to be engaged. Finally, the last vision of this is that I want to present this so that somebody can look through this all in one little presentation. They can have a story map that scrolls down, and as they're scrolling down, the first thing that they come to is, what did you do first in here? What did you do first in here? You listen to Charlie babble a little bit about the project that you were going to be doing. Okay, what did you do right after Charlie was babbling? You did a survey, so that as somebody is coming down a story map about our project, you get a little information at the top, then you get a survey in the story map. And then you come to, what was the next thing that we did right after the survey? Okay, looked at it on a map first, looked at the answers on a map, and then went to a dashboard. So what I want to do is to put together a story map that is the project as an entire entity. Here's the story of our creation. A little text, a survey, a map, a dashboard, all inside one capsule. That's what a story map is really good for, collecting and presenting content. And you're presenting it so that the viewers can actually participate in it in this way. So many different projects have StoryMap as kind of the end product, in quotes, the thing that you are creating, the thing that is publicly visible. You need to begin your project with that end in mind. So that's the part that is really challenging. When you're building a bridge, you got to have that vision of what is the bridge going to look like when you're all done. All right. So story maps present the data in a context. Now, in order to assemble a story map, some of you may have encountered this when you're working in presenting a speech or designing some other kinds of project. You want to think about, I need to do this first, and then this, and then this, and then this. You build a storyboard showing the different phases. Same thing with a story map. It's just that part of your map, or part of your story map, is going to be a map. This is where some of the naming gets a little bit confusing sometimes. I'm using a storyboard to design a project that has a map inside a story map. Constructing these story maps is actually really easy. The technology is very simple. If you can hit a plus button and assemble things, you can do this. It's the planning that is the hard part. So, our project was to include a decision about what we're going to do. We did that. We want to gather some data. We did that. We want to map the data. We mapped it using the map viewer. We want to explore it using a dashboard. And we want to bring it all together in a story map. You want to see the story map? All right, let's go to the story map. Where's my story map? Oh, gosh. Down one, down one. I see my story map. Thank you. All right. Here, let's view the story map. Here we are. Powertools for East. Okay, the internet is just saying, I'm just a little slow here, so that image in the background will show up. There it is. I've got an image up here. Powertools for East. ArcGIS Online helps users gather, explore, analyze, and present data easily. Ooh, I've got little headings that I can go bouncing in between to walk myself through this. Here's the goal. We're going to introduce East students to some ideas around collecting data, using maps, analyzing data, and presenting a story. So what did we do first? We did a survey. Look at this. And if you didn't get to participate in the survey, golly, you could do this now. And if you're watching a recording of this, you could do it even though you're watching a recording, because we'll just keep the survey up there and people can do this survey again and again and again. So part of this is it doesn't have to be just a one-time deal. It can be an ongoing project. Think about your project as a live thing. And here is that survey. Wait a minute, click anywhere to interact? You mean I can click in this and I can scroll down and fill out the survey inside the StoryMap. So I could have had you just go to the StoryMap, but I wanted you to see how you're able to create these kinds of things and to think about doing your own project this way. So after the StoryMap came the map viewer. This is where we explored the data from the survey. So you're seeing this is a live interactive map. There was somebody up there in Kentucky. There was somebody way out here on the West Coast. And here are all these other ones. They're right in here. Here's somebody. I can click on them and show, aha, there's test number 6. That was one of mine. There's LOB. Here's test number 4, a different one of mine. Here's egg. I found egg again. There's Brutus. So there are all kinds of elements that we can explore in here. And now let's get in and look at the dashboard, a display of related data. So here are your elements, your mapped elements. So here's this live map. Now watch what happens. Watch what happens as we zoom in on an area. I'm just going to zoom in right here in the center of the state. And what just happened? These numbers changed. I'll just zoom into these 3. Okay, I got a few more around here. So we set this up so that it will show us particular areas, and the map controls which items we're looking at. So we're not seeing some of these entries to see everybody who's here. I would have to go out to the whole, I'd have to go out farther in order to see everybody, but let's just stay with our default map. And now we can see the years in East. How many are in your first year? We get some, all right, some raising their hands. We get to see by grade level. Well, first of all, let's just see what happens if I say, show me on the map the East students. Ooh, is that working? Maybe not. I think I only set it up this way. All right, so here what I want to see is show me the high schools in East. And ooh, you can see the East schools by year in their duration. If I look at the high schools, there were a lot of high schools in the very beginning. If I said, let's show them all, how about the junior highs, middle schools, intermediate schools? That's been a more recent addition. What about the elementary schools? Most of the elementary schools have come in the last 5 years. So you can be looking at this and seeing, ooh, the elementary schools, maybe not so much comfort here with windows, but if we look at all of these things, we see everybody, you can explore this by Windows, by Mac, by iOS. Ooh, holy cow. There's a lot of comfort there. Looking at by Chrome, wow, there's not even, low is not even on the map here. So everybody is pretty comfortable with Chrome. And how about Android? Ooh, not so much over here. We've got, so this is all data, relevant data for everybody. And you're looking at it inside this StoryMap. So you can come back and review things by looking at the goal, the survey, the map viewer, the dashboard, the StoryMap. The idea of this is to think about your project as an entity and design with that end product in mind, use a map, look at the geographic data, and that very cool image up at the very top, that scene viewer, you also have, and we didn't use it as part of this, you have the 3D capability built in. So some of you who are in the hillier parts of the state may have some capacity to take advantage of that. So, good job. You've constructed or seen the construction of this. A StoryMap, it is actually easy to put together. Once you are accustomed to this, it's just sort of following your nose in the assembly, in design, add the different kinds of chunks to it, assemble these in different sections. And now, how do I learn more? So, your goal should be to practice, explore, experiment, read, watch, and seek some of these mapping opportunities. Get a login from your facilitator. If your facilitator doesn't have access to these logins, you can get them from East headquarters. Check with Jerry Prince. Jerry, if you're out there, he's ready for you. If you don't have a login from your school, check with Jerry. There are some activities that you can go through, and you'll be able to see these and link to these when afterwards you might look at these. There are resources available for Survey 123, Dashboard, and StoryMap that will give you experience working your way through these things. And if you want some examples, you can come in and play with the map that you're now a part of. You can play with this East Schools app that we had at the very beginning, where you were looking at all of the different schools on the map. You can come in and play with that East School scene or the StoryMap. These are all sitting up there for you to be able to play with. Look at some finished examples to get a sense of how you can construct yours. Whew. Questions? Questions? All right, you'll be able to access this presentation and go through, click on the links, and explore all these elements here. And if you have other big questions, you can email me. There's my email address at the very end of this presentation. There's a whole huge world that is interested in people with capacity to use GIS. Generally speaking, places can't find all of the GIS people that they are looking for. So we hope that you'll practice some of these things, try them out, do some good in the community, and build a future for yourself in the next several years. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being great surveyors, survey respondents, and a great audience. Thanks, everybody.